Alright, so in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through what variables are in Twine, and these are pretty consistent in most coding languages, so if you know another coding language, you'll already be caught up with this. But I'm going to show you what variables you can use in Twine, and then how you can use them in a story. So I have a story opened up here that I've made specifically to give examples of how variables work. So let's just start with the first passage here, just to show you what kinds of variables you can set. So let's go line by line and keep this very simple. So how to set a variable is with this code, but let's first go and explain what a variable is or what it can be. So I have three types of variables here. This first one is a piece of text. It just says hello. So we know that we can set a variable to some sort of word or phrase or text item. And the way that you do that is in between these quotes. So this doesn't have to be hello, this could be anything. It could be a sentence. It could be a word. It could be kind of anything. It just has to be in between these two quotes. And if you're familiar with coding languages, then you'll know that this is called a string. It's like a string of text. But if you haven't done another coding language before, don't worry about it. You just need to know that you can set a word or phrase as a variable. You can also set numbers. So you can set what's called an integer, which if you remember from just a basic math class, an integer is like a whole number. It's like 1, 2, 3, 35, 174. It just can't have decimals. But for a variable, you can also set decimals, and it works totally fine. The difference between these is just that one is called an integer and one is called a float. So if you have decimals, it's just called something different, but it works exactly the same. And then the last thing you can make is a true or false statement. So you can set this to true or false, and this type of variable is called a Boolean. So you don't really need to remember any of the technical how this stuff works or what they're called. All you need to remember is that you can have words or phrases, numbers, or true false statements as your variables. And then how you set a variable in Twine. So you start with a dollar symbol, and then you name your variable. If I can type correctly, this will go faster. Okay, so there are different ways that people kind of standardize what they name this, but you can name this anything basically. Let's just go back to the octopus example. You can put in, you can cram a bunch of words together. Octopus likes to eat pie. Yeah, this can literally be anything. It doesn't matter. But people do different things to kind of keep the variables organized. One common thing to do is called camel case, where if you name a variable multiple words or multiple abbreviations of words, like some people will do my var for my variable. If you do something like this, oftentimes people will keep the first word or part of a word lowercased and then the second one uppercased. And then it's less common, but this is what I've been doing, where you just capitalize every single word. And if you're really into coding and you've done other Python or C# or Java or other kinds of scripting languages, you'll already have your own preference for what you should do. But if you're just working in Twine for the first time, it doesn't really matter. Just set your variable to whatever you want it to be. So I've named this one all one word to remind me to tell you guys that it all has to be one word. There can't be spaces, because if you put a space in here, see how these colors change? Now it's not all connected. So you need a $sign, and you need it to be all one word. And the way that you set a variable, so you have to basically tell your computer, hey, I want to set a variable, because otherwise it doesn't know that you have a variable or what you want to set it to, so you have to tell it explicitly. So we start with an open parentheses, we write the word set, you write a colon, then you say the name of your variable, so I'm going to call it my var, and then you say what you want to set it to. So set my var to 17.6. And then when you play this game, all of this stuff here in the brackets, this is all stuff that Twine reads behind the scenes, but your players don't see. So all of this disappears. So if you want to see your variables, you just have to type them out in a sentence or in a paragraph or by itself. So here, I'll put this by itself just so you can see what it looks like. And then I'll play the game and show you what happens. So we have my word is all one word, which we've defined up here as octopus. My number is can be numbers, which we've defined here as 10. And then this information is can be true or false, which we've defined as false. Well, let's define it as true. That doesn't really matter. I don't think the booleans, the true false, are going to show up, but these two kinds of variables will show up. So let's play this and see what it looks like. So I X out of that tab, and I come over, hover over the passage that I want to play, and I click play. So all of that stuff that we defined is all invisible. Players don't see it, but they do see the text that we wrote. So when I defined, here, let's go back to this, and I'll show you. So remember how we said, so I set the myvar and then I just wrote myvar afterwards. This is saying to Twine, I want you to put this number in place of this text that I've written. And then it does exactly that. So we don't see any of the stuff in the parentheses that we were defining the variable with. We just said, right here, we want you to put in the value for myvar and show the people what that is. And it's the same with this. So we wrote my word is, and then we wrote the name of the variable, and that told Twine to say, after this phrase, my word is, we want you to say what the variable is. So it did that. And it did the same thing with our number variable. It did not show the true false statement, and that's okay. It just won't do that. So again, we told it to say, my word is, and then we wrote the name of the variable that we wanted it to show. We did that for all these three phrases, and that's exactly what it did. So if this is a little bit confusing for you, don't worry, just maybe rewatch this section and try to see if you can follow it a little bit better the second time through. This stuff can definitely be a little confusing if you've never been exposed to it before. But at this point in the video, we're gonna move on to show a little bit more complicated stuff that you can do with this. We're going to move on to an if statement or a condition.